This home I bought contained lead, asbestos, and also had aluminum wiring, and to top it off, had structural damage. Now, I bought this home as it was in my neighborhood. I'd been watching it for a while, and hey, it had the looks of a hoarder home and in need of full renovation. And hey, I like to buy homes to fix up and resell, and I'll tell you, this one, after I bought it, I was actually scared I was in over my head. Later, I'll share the story on this home, and also through the video, I'm going to cover buying a fixer-upper home and flat-out money pits so you can make a good decision on your own whether you should invest in that home or just walk away from it. Now, a lot of people on my channel, they've inherited a home and they want to take on the challenge of updating that home to either move into it, rent it, or just flip it. And these are all great decisions and such. But let's now get into the heart of what you should know so you just don't get in over your head on this. And first off, a lot of homes that are inherited are built way back before all the building codes and such were really a big deal. And most homes around the Denver area where I'm at, they're usually built in the 60s. And believe me, the way homes were built back then are way different than today's homes. Now, the first thing I tell people, before you even start looking, you need to ask yourself, why do you want a fixer-upper? Did you inherit a home and you're wondering if it's worth fixing up or if you should sell it? Or are you trying to get into home ownership cheap and slowly build up equity, as let's face it, it's hard to get into a home that's done right now with the way the current housing market is? Or are you an investor that's looking for a good deal? In each of these situations, they all have different risks and rewards. And if you're inheriting a house, sentimental value can blind you to the cost. And if you're a first-time buyer, you need to budget for repairs and all those unexpected surprises, as every home has a surprise. And if you're an investor, it's all about ROI or return on investment. Now, the one thing I usually tell people is there's the 50-year rule and why age matters on a home. And one of the biggest things that people ignore when buying a fixer-upper is the age of the home. Pre-1974, anything built before this, hey, there's different rules, different materials, and hey, usually a nightmare with a lot of those homes. And if you get into the 80s and newer, much safer bet, fewer toxic materials, better construction standards, and less major work needed. And those homes in the 1950s, 60s, it depends. Some are solid, and some, I can tell you, they are a ticking time bomb. And here's the deal. Homes were built to last for about 50 years before all the major systems started failing. So if you're buying a house from, say, 1970, that plumbing or that electrical system, they're way past their expiration date. Now let's look at the hidden cost and what really needs fixing. So you found a cheap house, everything looks good on paper, but here is really what you need to check. And the first thing is that foundation. I mean, if you go up to the house, the roof line isn't straight, there's cracks on the brick, you go inside, there's cracks in the basement wall, windows and doors don't fit, or the plumbing, say, is all cast plumbing, or the electrical is all aluminum in the house and outdated, and that all gets expensive to fix. And the HVAC systems, well, definitely if they're over 50 years old, they are total garbage. Also, look at the roofs, another thing that can be a major expense if you don't know what to look for. If you peel off the shingles and then all of a sudden you have to redeck that roof, that's another expense that can really add up fast. And one thing I just want to stress to you, a new paint job won't fix all this failing stuff I just covered. So don't get distracted by doing just cosmetic updates. And also you need to cover yourself from also getting sued. So make sure you understand everything involved with all those items I just talked about. Now let's get into the old money pit test, how to spot a bad deal. Let's just say you're looking at a house built, say 1930. You can picture this charming looking house, right? Well, let's look at this another way. Those homes had no proper foundation support. Everything in a lot of those homes seems to slowly be sagging. The joists, they weren't built for modern plumbing and HVAC and the electrical. And I can tell you in a lot of those older homes, there's probably even a good chance of a fire hazard. Now let's compare that to a 1975 home. Now that's still outdated, but the foundation is solid. Plumbing, electrical might need some minor updates, but not a full overhaul. And hey, you can focus on remodeling instead of actually rebuilding. So hopefully you can see the difference between the two. Now let's get back to the home I bought in my neighborhood. After we purchased this home, which was a hoarder house, it took 25 30-yard dumpsters to clean it out. And when we got the home cleaned out, we went to assess everything we had to do because it was so full of stuff. We couldn't get in to really do what we normally do. And when we went in the basement, we were shocked to see that the basement wall had cracks all over. And we determined that the front step sloped into the house, and that caused water to get down in the foundation and bowed the wall. So we had to do 10 carbon fibers to repair that wall. And those were expenses we really didn't factor in. And right after we noticed that, we walked the house even more to see that it had aluminum wiring inside, as we weren't able to get to the electrical panel or any of that as we were looking at this house. And fortunately, we had purchased the house right. It ate into our profit margins, but we were still okay. And I'm sure some of you investors out there, you've purchased homes sight unseen. I don't highly recommend this unless you're very seasoned and you have a very good idea of what to expect. But anyway, those are just some of the things you can walk into that can just blindside you. Now, if you are buying a home though, to move into and such, or if you're able to get this done, if your contract allows it, get a home inspection and make sure that you get the right home inspector to help you out. Now, I know real estate agent can refer you some people, but like I tell my clients, you can choose whoever you want. And by the way, if you need a good real estate agent in your area or you have any questions, my contact link is down below. But anyway, get somebody that is independent and that is very skilled in that area to help you look for all the major issues that you may not have noticed when you first looked at the house. A good home inspector, they'll walk through and they'll check it for, say, mold. They'll also look again at structural stuff. They're not professionally licensed and so forth in that area, but they can at least determine if you should look at that a little bit more by a professional. Also, you'll get a sewer scope to see how the line is out to the street, as that can be another major repair that, again, you can't even see that. So make sure your inspector always has you do a sewer scope. At the end of the day, that home inspector, they're going to save you thousands of dollars in a bunch of headaches. Now let's look at ROI, or return on investment, for you investors out there. And does that house make financial sense? I mean, a fixer-upper always needs to be looked at as an investment, and you don't want to buy a home to put all that money into and not make any profit at all. So really look at things like even the neighborhoods, because some of the neighborhoods, they don't appreciate. And also things like, are you close to Home Depot? Are you by trails, schools, easy access to shops and restaurants? Are the neighborhood crime rates low? I mean, what is the resale potential of that home all the way around? And if all your numbers, they don't make sense, then just walk away and don't try to force those numbers to work, because if you're forcing those numbers to work, that means it's probably not a good deal after all. Now, what are the best houses for those do-it-yourselfers on those fixer-uppers and you're very serious about buying one? Well, look for homes built between 1975, 1980. You get the best mix of a modern structure and with a lot of upgrade potential. And make sure the foundation's good. No major sagging, cracking, or shifting, and so forth. Make sure those mechanicals are functioning okay, that the HVAC system's newer or not at the end of its life expectancy. Make sure that plumbing and that electrical's all in good condition and it's all up to date, and that you're not going to have to deal with, say, a bunch of aluminum wiring and so forth. As again, there's a special way that you can deal with it, but that's a whole topic for another video. And again, if the house is outdated, but it's livable and it has like ugly cabinets, no problem. But if you see rotten framing anywhere, that could be a huge problem. And that sweet spot is finding a house that only needs that cosmetic work, and that is where the real money is. So anyway, here are the red flags and when to walk away. And if a house has these issues, it's not really a do-it-yourselfer project. It's actually going to be a huge nightmare for you. And one of those red flags, again, are those foundation problems. Fixing these foundations can be anywhere from a few $1,000s. I've had them up over $100,000. And just know, foundation never truly gets fixed, as it stigmatizes the house. So it eliminates a lot of potential buyers. And also, you want to make sure that it is documented and fixed properly, or you could be in for a whole lot of other problems and you could actually get yourself sued. So make sure that gets done correctly if you decide to take it on. And another red flag, again, like I've said before, major plumbing, electrical stuff. I mean, if you have cast iron pipes, or if you have, again, the aluminum wiring, or maybe you need to even replace the electrical panel and you don't know anything about it, you may just want to pass till you understand how to deal with all of that. And another red flag are the roof and windows. And if all these need replaced, that again could be a money pit for you, as if you don't have the connections and the know-how, those expenses could really add up. And also mold, termites, and water damage. These are problems, I just want to say, they never stay small either. Now, a house that's ugly but solid is perfect, and a house that is just fallen apart is a total disaster. And the bottom line, not every cheap house is a deal. A true fixer-upper is a livable home with just some outdated finishes. And a money pit, that's a house that's been neglected for decades and it needs absolutely everything replaced. So if you're out there hunting for a house, just be smart, do your research, and don't overpay for someone else's problems. And I hope this video helped you, and if so, share it with somebody that could benefit from it. Also, give me some comments on any fixer-uppers that you've dealt with. I always like to hear what everybody's stories are. And also, if you need help with any of this or need a good agent in your area, my contact link is down below. And also, stay tuned for this next video coming up next.